50. Bombs it to a dangerous position. And Houghton's marked! In she comes. She's taken a big mark. Can she kick a big goal? Oh, you bet she can! Gemma Houghton, the hero! Salutes to the massive crowd at Alberton Oval. Yartapuulti are in front.
Alrighty, hello and welcome to the Creedcast. My name's David, as always. Thank you for joining us on what is another fun one, 6 in a row. This team just doesn't stop winning. It's been an incredible end to the year for this Aflw ladies. Yartapuulti finishing off the year in epic fashion in a way, coming from behind to win in the last minute with Gemma Houghton. Felt like just so many things about our season coming into one, like Gemma Houghton having a moment in a game that she had lots of almost moments, having to battle and coaching adjustments and little things that happen throughout the game that we've talked about throughout the season, of how this team really does a good job of changing things as the game is going to try to find the results if they're not getting it quite. There was lots of great things in this game. Obviously, lots of average stuff. I think it felt pretty dire for a while and didn't feel like a win was coming. But there was some mitigating factors as well with some of the injuries and whatnot going into this game. And it was really nice that we actually had finals locked up by the time the game started anyway, which was probably maybe in their minds a little bit. I don't know. We'll talk about it though. Jamie's back this week. We didn't actually end up... neither of us made it to the game in the end. After I was imploring everyone to get down there, which was really great to see that 4,000 got down there. But I was under the weather, and I think you just had a big family day, and it was just the logistics didn't work out. So we didn't get down there, but we watched it live on TV. We're so glad that a lot of people did get around it, and we got over 4,000 down there, and hopefully we'll get a big crowd down there again this weekend for the final. But Jamie, that was a really interesting game to watch because it didn't feel great for a long time, but kind of like someone on Twitter actually brought it up that like the Hawthorn game earlier in the year, it just doesn't matter how you start the game. Sometimes if you finish them strong and find yourself over the end of the line, then it's going to feel like the best win you've ever been a part of. So, and it certainly had that feel, a little bit different kind of goal, but Gemma Houghton from 40 odd out and slotting it through and giving it the big ones afterwards, it was wonderful. Great vibes.
Yes, hello Dave, hello everyone. Thanks for having me back in your ear holes and your eye holes for those watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Intra mile type stuff all over again. Hawthorn game, like you said, and the Geelong game. I think, what was that, the week before? In the men's season?
Stressful couple of
which
weeks.
had that Fast and Furious theme for the middle portion of the season, of the men's season, that is. It was just amazing. And for me personally, like as you know, and some listening know, I've had a pretty terrible time on a personal front, and I'll leave it a little bit ambiguous. But what I can say is just that how therapeutic is probably not the right word, because you go through a roller coaster of emotions, and I was, again, on a personal front, but just how sport can galvanize a community and just uplift a community and just kind of wash away all that ails you sometimes. The agony on one hand, maybe on a personal front or in a sporting sense, and then the ecstasy coming out the back end of it. Obviously been away for a little bit of time, and credit to you for going at it alone in last week's episode, really harkening back to the good old days, which was good. So just this game, the Gold Coast game before that were some very very needed distractions, and thankfully, with how good our team is going, we really positive ends of the spectrum, and just a great injection of enthusiasm and just really enjoying going along for the ride as we and others around our kind of atmosphere continue to say, like, just watching the continuation of growth from this team and breaking, records for themselves as well, and hitting new benchmarks. It's really exciting and really uplifting. And yeah, it was a pleasure to watch the last play unfold and absolve everything that happened before it. But yeah, it was really fantastic. And yeah, we've both, kind of said in messaging, like, really glad on one hand that we didn't go for like our own reasons, because like, yeah, we were both suffering different, exhaustions, if that's even a word. But yeah, just seeing all the people, just how the game ended. Yeah, I'm really jealous of everyone who did get to experience it live, because yeah, we've said it a number of times. Being at Alberton to watch the girls play, watching them win, it's a real pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm really pleased that they had such a good crowd, and it's been mentioned a little bit from the players as well, just how good the energy was down there, and just really pleased that kind of people got around it, and because the last couple of games being night games, I think we've gotten 2,500 or whatever, which is still a decent number, but would have been nice to see a few more, and it felt like a few more at one of those ones that we're at, but yeah, to actually see sunshine like that, springtime sunshine on Alberton Oval and a good crowd around. And a performance that didn't left a lot to be desired for a while, but there was still some good. I think we were playing okay. Just it was missing a few. It's some of the classic things that we've talked about all year: missing marks here and there, not getting enough hands on the ball at the right time sometimes. But our overall intent and the pressure game and tackling and all that, and GWS actually out tackled their season their season average by a shitload. I actually got to have a
shitload. Yeah, they commented on it in the commentary.
Yeah, it's the only
they
time
cracked a ton.
Yeah,
and yeah, they're already well surpassed their season best at that stage.
Yeah, the season average is 73.6 tackles a game, and they had 107 for the game. So yeah, it's 34 tackles basically.
They came out with a clear intent, and credit to them. We've been there in, every sporting team and fan has been there, whatever team it may be, but from a Port sense, we've been there in some years where it's just like, we need to get something out of this last game. And one of their players, I think it was their captain, mentioned that we're not just playing for the end of this season. This is the start of next season, which is a really interesting perspective. And yeah, credit to them. It was a bit of a perfect storm game, in my opinion. It had all the hallmarks that frustrate you, going back to a Port Adelaide sense. Just second to the ball, a lack of enthusiasm in some regards, the ball bouncing really shit ways, particularly in our defensive third.
It was a lot, wasn't
it? Obviously the umpiring, which I think we'll probably touch on. Just everything that could frustrate you. Obviously the expectation that we were going to win and probably win fairly easily. And the knowing that if we were to win, we would get a home final, and potentially losing that with the way that we were kind of going about it. And how the game as a whole was unfolding. Left a lot to be desired for a long period of time, but glad they switched it on. And they just kept going. They kept scrapping and trying to get their nose in front.
Yeah, they did. And they did a really good job. Both, I found, because it often felt like every time we got that goal to get back within 7, 8, 9 points or whatever, then they'd score one quickly again. I was just like, oh, it's going to be one of these ones that we play okay, and we were scoring, and and actually, credit to the girls that 7 goals won is an incredible effort too, because that's where GWS
absolutely
by comparison, because they outscored us in scoring shots quite substantially.
Yeah, and in all honesty, it's a rare ledger to find yourself on in terms of scores, in the AFLW at this point in time. To be that accurate is a blessing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we absolutely needed it.
And it's good. Like, I mean, we've had that in a couple of weeks. And I mean, the last home game prior to this one was the St Kilda one where you kicked 5 goals, 1, I think, in the first quarter. It's kind of blow that one
Yeah.
out. So we've actually had, I can't remember what the exact score of the Gold Coast one was last week now, but we kicked some worldies in the Gold Coast game as well. So we've kind of had a reasonable goal kicking run of late since the Collingwood game, which we obviously kept them in it by kicking 1 goal 6 to start. But I think we've actually been reasonably accurate, and they're coming from different ways. I mean, Caitlin Wendland again popping up. I talked about her last week, and just yeah, isn't she great? Like just clutch,
Yeah,
and like I
she
think she's
continues to impress me. Just with her, you could categorize her in the goal sneak basket. Like
mm,
it's obviously a term that gets used a lot for small forwards. In the whole footy world, at
mm,
whatever level. Yeah, the goal sneak because you're not a key position player, but
yeah,
you're just ambling around. Well, not ambling around. You just like just waiting for those crumbs or those little half opportunities, and then yeah, you're just contributing your ones or your twos every week,
mm,
and that's what she's doing. Yeah, super impressed with how her season has unfolded. She's gone from strength to strength in a way in terms of she just continues in an upward trajectory with her
mm.
form. But yeah, really impressed with her contributions.
Yeah, and she seems to just have an innate feel for where the goals are whenever she gets hands on the ball. Kirsty Lamb again, like snapped one out of a pack, and she's shown a propensity
Great.
for that
Yeah.
this year as well. And she's got a good goal kicking record back at the Western Bulldogs as well when she was there. So just a few players that are now really got an eye for goal, and kind of that just you know innate sense of wherever they are on the field, they've kind of got that game awareness or field awareness, and which is a really important thing. I love that, whether it be whatever sport it may be. I love watching them, seeing players that kind of just have that just such a deep knowledge of their game and what's going on in the field that they can just, especially in AFL, is one of those sports that really highlights it when a player can just wheel out of a pack and immediately know where the sticks are and snap one. You know, sometimes they
Yeah.
miss, but if they're in the zone, and obviously yesterday we had a really good run with it. Um, the marking was, I mean, the inside 50s for the game, by the way, ended up pretty even, but didn't feel like it for a while. They still GWS +2, 31 to 29. We did obviously get a lot of ball in the last quarter because disposals again. Disposal. It's the same old story, by the way, and a lot of things. Disposals, contested possessions, we were +13 in the end, which GWS led for a while, and certainly
Yeah.
gave as good as they could get, gave as good as they could give. Marks for the game again, 43 to 25. Obviously, GWS's way. We've rarely been ahead or close on that ledger this year. It's one of those areas that again is the evening thing that GWS were able to get some ball movement forward and get some of those goals because they could take marks and get some chains going and get some
Well, and on yeah,
uncontested possessions is like still we just don't get as much hand on the
yeah,
ball. Not that
yeah,
we need.
uncontested
Yeah.
possessions. Yeah, and on the other end of the marking spectrum, we just kept kicking it either to their defender's advantage
Mm,
or yeah, just not strong enough in some contests, which then allowed them to intercept mark as well, whether it's not putting the early body on or just being outbodied in the direct contest, which, yeah.
mm,
And just the way that we play, it's very chaos and move it forward at all costs, which by and large is working to our benefit,
mm,
clearly. But if a team is set up in the correct way and we're not, then yeah, just have the ability to give up intercept marks and just keep getting out of position because they're bringing it straight back over our heads.
mm,
That happened a lot. And although our marks finished up okay in the context of where we usually sit,
mm,
it still wasn't. Yeah, the disparity in that stat line made a world of difference in how the game unfolded. We were continually wasting energy trying to reset because they were much cleaner in that regard. And then the uncontested possessions, like you said, they had some wraparound. They seemed to have free players just come out of nowhere seemingly, and you're just watching from the TV. That is, you're like, where are our players? Where's the help? Like, That kind of thing tended to happen a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and that was. I wondered, and I'm wondering your thought, like, because obviously the big misses of the weekend were Matilda Schultz, who was out. I think it was a day before or whatever that we found out she was. I think it was actually it could have been Thursday.
Yeah, it was Friday.
Friday that we found out. Yeah,
Yeah, Friday, and then I think again some of the official channels mentioned it as a late out, and it's like, well, we've known that it got announced
yeah,
on Friday by the club, but yeah.
yeah.
But then Abby was obviously the actual late out.
Yeah, because she did start warm ups, and then I assume it was some tightness or muscle. So they're both expected to be back this week. By the way, that was the injury report today. Is that they're officially going to be assessed. Along with Julia Tickle, by the way, had an assessed next to her name too. So I assume that she's probably still. They said they expect Schultz and Darrick to play. Nothing about Tickle in that sense in the caption for that post. So watch this space, I guess. But yeah, it changed those two players have been. I mean, Abby, we think I haven't actually. I need to do the math on our Player of the Year votes, but it's still going because we're in finals. But
Yeah.
Abby is comfortably ahead without me knowing the exact number, and Matilda's been getting a fair few votes in there as well. So you've taken essentially probably the two. I think the one as the out and out best in our team, and then one that's kind of. I mean, Matilda's quite young still, but she's clearly a game breaker in both her ruck work and contested work and
Probably an
clearance work.
MVP. Like one might be your best and fairest, and then one like MVP is just that X factor. Yeah, maybe not your best player, but yeah, has the impact in several facets and is on the podium of our best players still. So yeah.
So you take that kind of, and that we've learnt who we are as a team with those two being very fundamental to it. So it's interesting watching them play and figure it out without them. Shout out to Levicki.
It took a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Levicki for having, we did win the hitouts like by a decent margin. The clearance game was a little bit interesting. Stoppage clearance we got smashed at, but center clearance we did win. But 47-29 on the hitouts. So we didn't, obviously we kept our ruck dominance, just not quite around the stoppage that and a lot of that stoppage dominance has been the likes of Darrick and co being around that. So you can
absolutely
you can find the reasons and be reasonably comfortable in the fact that the issues that plagued us a little bit in this game weren't too worrying going forward. But it is, we do want to see this team start marking the ball better. I know we talked about, I mean, I guess we put the positive reverse jinx on Gemma because we were texting midway through the game about just she was just having one of those games where she just was she was getting there was a fair bit of attention around her, but she still got her hands kind of on the ball and just couldn't take a mark.
Oh, yeah.
For a while there. And it felt like an almost game. And I guess it probably is still an almost game. And if you look at it in the entirety of it. But,
there's a couple of moments that stick out in my mind for sure. I think we actually got the first inside 50. Or what I'm thinking of is she got what should have been a very, very simple mark inside 50 that she should have taken.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, cement hands. That's out. There was another one down the Bob Quinn stand end as well, where kind of uncontested basically, and just not giving with the ball. And like I swear her marking hasn't been that bad.
Yeah,
but the last kind of few weeks it's just getting in her area, and the hands are just, it's kind of like she's playing volleyball a little bit, like just trying to set it back for someone else. And then then the last moment just made it all that much sweeter, because not only did she finally take a mark, she took a contested mark within 3 opposition players. I couldn't believe it. And like you said, it can still be categorized as an almost game because she had that. She had quite a number of opportunities. To her credit, she gave off that lovely handball to Ash Saint, who ran in and just snuck the ball in as well. But Gemma Houghton continues to show the AFLW landscape glimpses of what she can do to you if it all clicks in one game. And by and large, she's had a great season, I think. Like she's shown games or like three quarters. It's a bit like our comments about Abby Jarrett when she finally hits those 25 disposal marks and things like that. You just know that the game is going to be taken by storm. And yeah, Gemma, obviously on the more senior end compared to Abby, that is, she's very capable. And yeah, she gets her hands back consistently. She's a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. Just such a joy to watch. A turn of pace. It's hard to tackle as well. So all the trademarks of a forward that coming into finals can really make an impact.
Yeah. I mean, she had one of those games that she really, when we last played Richmond, we're still talking about the GWS game, but game we played Richmond, when she turned it on is when we started to get back into that game and had a real good run. So hopefully that's a little sign forward. Hopefully that she's in good form, and certainly like she's just had a moment, like one of those great moments in sports that you love, like as a fan, but as a player, I'm sure you remember those quite well too. Like, I mean, DBJ is going to remember the goal of forever. Robbie Gray against Carlton. All the manner of different like late winners we've had, whether it be Motlop or but
Robbie
now,
Gray against St Kilda.
Yeah.
Robbie Gray against Robbie Gray.
So yeah, and now Gemma's like kind of written herself into that little bit of folklore. I think there was the commentary.
Great kick too, like
really nice. Yeah.
Distance and angle wise as well. Used the facilities perfectly. We're quite aware of the Alberton cross breeze that tends to favour that end, and it's been obviously commented on like how much space everyone left her on her right hand side for her to just kind of close the gap a little bit, close the angle a little bit, and helped her through. But even from the position that she marked it, I was like, shit, is she gonna like? I know the wind's there, but even still, like we watched that Piper Window attempted shot on goal. I think that was the Collingwood game, perhaps, or the St Kilda. One of those two, I think it was.
Yeah, it was one of the two that we were at.
Yeah,
right
but
behind it.
She was in a similar spot. Great kick in terms of accuracy, but didn't have the distance, and it was just like, can she still kick it? And like I was surprised how early everyone was cheering. Like it was off her boot, it was online, but everyone was cheering, and I was like, "Is it gonna make it?" And then it sailed through easily, and I was just like, "Fuck yeah!" You're sending out text messages. I'm like punching pillows, and yeah, like I said before, just sport has that amazing ability to just help you forget everything else sometimes, and just enjoy that essence of reality, unfolding before you, like unscripted, just
it's
amazing
just
moments.
living in a moment from like, because we live so much life, and for good reason, as you've mentioned. Like sometimes you have to live life in a moment where there's a lot of things going on that you have to keep replaying and talking about and whatever. But then in these moments in sports, it's just literally you don't know what's going to happen, and then this moment happens, and you just live in the moment for a bit, and you get to let loose of your whatever constraints you have on your normal self, usually to purport yourself like a normal human being. You just let go of that and go, fuck yes, this was amazing. And
fuck yes, fuck yes, Gemma. And just drawing back on how that play unfolded. Obviously, it was the last contentious call of the game, but I think a bit too much focus has been on the Kirsty Lamb free kick. Obviously, it was touch and go whether it should have actually been paid, but from a Port supporter's perspective, again, a bit similar to Charlie comments throughout the year, it's reparations for what was happening earlier in the game. Like, if you've watched the whole game and not that last passage of play, you'd understand that we more than deserved a pretty touchy one ourselves.
Yeah.
after being on the wrong end of it and a really quite obviously frustrating our girls
There was
during
some
the match with
obvious,
just
there was
some,
some real obvious ones, like hand over the shoulder, and they
yeah,
get sling it. Like, remember those? I
just
think it
some
was like,
wild inconsistencies for me.
yeah, it was
And
going
it
both
just
ways,
made
obviously,
me,
but yeah.
yeah, it just made me think of some of the comments that I've made in regards to the men's season where you get the A grade coaching, umpiring team on the Thursdays and the Fridays and the Saturday
Mm.
nights. And then on Sunday, you get like the B's and C grade teams. And that's when you can be scratching your head sometimes at how a game's officiated in the men's season. And then we've also commented on the fact that in reality, the AFLW has more less experienced umpires and some of the developing umpires in the AFL system. So then when you've got a Sunday AFLW game and you've really, yeah, like, and in terms of umpires, like, good on you for doing your job, because I know that it's quite a shortage across the country as far as I'm aware, across,
Mm.
amateur and local football, and then, that filters up, like, yeah. But so you don't want to hang shit on them too much, but you still have to comment on how, for this game in particular, just how inconsistent it was. Like, a lot of pre-tackling going on. Like, their game plan, like we talked about earlier, they had a game plan. They had an intent that they wanted to play the game with, and
Mm.
credit to them, they wanted to attack us, close off our space, put as much pressure as they could on us for 4 quarters, and by and large they did that. But there were still some opportunities where they probably overstepped the mark. We didn't benefit from that in terms of a free kick or what have you. But then on the other end as well, there was a lot of incorrect disposal
Mm.
that just seemed to be let go in the name of continuous play, apparently. And so, yeah, yeah. And it's like, oh, Kirsty Lamb should have got done holding the ball. And it's like, well, holding the ball was a really, like,
There was
lucky
no
dip call for the whole game. So,
baseline for it at any point, because I mean, we've seen some in previous weeks, seen some decisions that like are far too quick, and then this week it was just like it depended on, it was just like you're noticing, to your point about lesser experienced crews, and again, we don't want to hang shit on them, but it is just constructive criticism. As opposed to what my criticism is over the fence when I'm at games, not very constructive usually.
no.
I try not to be that guy. Sometimes you just let a little fucking cunt
Yeah.
go. But yeah, but I think there's less, because generally in the AFL, I think you have umpiring crews at the top level. They have a bit of an idea of how they want to officiate a game. Like they've talked about what to, and this might be just it's education about what women's teams are coming up against. But in men's, there's a real idea of what kind of teams you're coming up to umpire, so you know what to look out for, different things. You have a plan around you, and it just feels like depending on who's controlling each zone, the call can be massively different,
Mm,
and just change as it goes, and that's what makes it frustrating to watch, especially for us. I mean, there was some just clear arms over the shoulder kind of stuff, that just would let go. And I mean, Piper Window got caught holding the ball a couple of times where she legitimately tried to go through a player, and
yeah,
so those
I
ones
agree.
that's just learning experience for her. And but there's a lot of ones that just left you absolutely scratching your head. And yeah, I saw friend of the pod Dave Lloyd having a little back and forth with not friend of the pod, Romcom.
Roko.
Yeah, Roko, who I've just realized that the blocking feature thing on Twitter has changed, because he's blocked me, but I could still see it. So, um,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Creed account is blocked by Roko because I had a back and forth with him after the Geelong game, which was probably a little bit my fault, but I was also
This year.
yeah. I was sitting in the Strathmore really sad and had a back and forth. I can't even remember what he said. Something
I
a
think I
thing.
remember seeing that thread as well. And
Yeah,
then he
and
blocked
then
you.
yeah, and
Some
then he
people are
blocked.
really hot on that block button.
Yeah, which is really, there's a few accounts I've got blocked, which took a while to get there. I think there's a few sport fans that will know of a few crow accounts that are very easy to block. So, but yeah, I wasn't expecting. But yeah, the Roko block is one that I've got. But yeah, I obviously Twitter changing and Elon losing his mind. He's decided to adjust, so you can see it, but you can't interact. So
yeah,
so I saw the back and
it's
forth.
stupid.
Yeah,
It goes against every like value that the blocking feature was installed for across
yeah.
social media at large.
It's
It's just stupid
it's both mental health
and
protection
dangerous, but that's it's a
yeah.
whole nother
Anyway,
topic.
yeah. Let's not talk about Elon right now because he's losing his fucking mind as the election is upon us now over in the US. But Dave Lloyd obviously was basically said, yeah, that decision was a little bit, but and I think he even said when you watch it back, like, who knows how much prior. It was just one of those ones that, it's kind of 60-40 maybe, but I don't know.
Well, one thing I will say is that I remember, I think a tackle like that, I think it's called a horse collar tackle, if like is the name of when you grab the
in the NFL,
back of the jumper high around the neck.
Yeah, they'll actually call it a horse collar penalty in college football and NFL as well.
Right, okay, yeah, there you go. And I remember, I think it was the Fremantle game, the Port Adelaide Fremantle in the men's season, the Dwayneism Charlie game. I think Lockie Jones was at Bailey Banfield. He rocked him down to the ground, and we're all just like, yeah, fuck yeah. That one didn't get paid, but then I think there was one later in the same game, or maybe in another week. Like we got away with one, but then another one got paid, and it was paid as a dangerous tackle. So yeah.
And that's the thing with if it's holding the ball but then becomes a dangerous tackle, then it's like there's two. I mean, it's being an NFL thing. Like if it was the NFL, they'd be like a penalty on the offense, penalty on the defense, offset play on basically. But in AFL, you just basically make one call. There's no multiple.
Yeah, they make a priority call.
Yeah, and I think probably if you catch someone holding the ball, but then you end up tackling into the ground in a dangerous fashion, it probably makes sense that the dangerous tackle gets precedent, I guess. I don't know. But then
it did with Connor Rosie in the game earlier this season. I think it was going to be holding the ball, and then whoever it was dumped him. I can't remember what game it was, and he got a shot on goal.
That's right. Yeah, I can't remember the game, but I feel like it was one of those games that Rosie had a really good one. Could have been, was it like something like Essendon and Gather Round or something like that? Maybe? I don't know. Or it could be. Anyway, that's the thing is it's like you get the Melbourne-based journalist losing his mind about one guy because he probably didn't even.
And he admitted that he didn't watch the whole game, and it's like, well, you're an AFL personality, although you're a sports journalist as broadly. It's just like you can't
comment. I don't think anyone should be able to comment on a moment in a game when they haven't watched the whole game. It's just like
a lot of nuffies tend to do that.
Actually, I probably do it plenty, but I haven't got a 30 or 40 year media career, and like I've seen him talk about it before. I think he's been to like 30 or 40 straight grand finals. Like he's in a privileged position that people often give him shit because he does bring upon him.
He's got some sort of a following.
Yeah, and whether or not
confirms some biases by putting out such a post.
Yeah.
And then I didn't watch the whole game. I'm just commenting that this is the last call of the game. And it's like, well, there was actually still a minute after that goal too. So
yeah. It's kind of like the Sydney Adelaide Crows one, right? Like it's actually things could have happened afterwards. It wasn't an after the siren thing or anything like that. We had some work to do defensively after that goal to make sure that we won the game, which we did well. So I didn't even. Did you notice it much in the moment? Did you think I was so hyped up I didn't even realize that there was a contentious call there. I just was like, oh yeah, cool, free kick, cool, let's go. Like I
thought it was going to be called holding the ball. I thought it did get called holding the ball, and I was over the moon, and I thought it was quite hilarious that it wasn't for the whole reparations type point of view. Like that's what you get. You've had you've had the rub of the green GWS for the whole fucking game. Like, yeah, we deserve a contentious one our way. And it just came at a moment where we were pressing so hard. And it was like, is it? Like, what's going to happen? Are we going to do it? But yeah, to be honest, I thought Kirsty Lamb, credit to her, like that moment is basically how she played the whole game. I loved it. Just willing our team forward and trying to will us over the line. But unfortunately, yeah, she probably tried to do a bit too much, and yeah, to our benefit, she got horse collared, and
Yeah.
the umpire saw it one way and not the other.
Yeah, and sometimes like that's when you've had a game where the umpiring's been up and down. Sometimes you just get the right decision at the right time, but it doesn't mean that's it's an unfair win on our part because GWS had plenty of opportunities themselves as well. Like we said, they kicked 6 goals 6. I'm sure a couple of those were rushed behind or whatever maybe, but I haven't got the list in front of me of how they were scored. But
I think they had a set shot right in front of
they
straight, and they missed. So
there was a couple I thought
that's football.
Going to be in trouble here, and they missed them. And I was like, okay, I think I feel like there's a commentary moment that's coming to my mind right now saying that's a let off or something like that. So yeah, you let teams off, as we've known in the men's competition going the other way. You let teams off. Sometimes it come back to bite you, especially when the other team kicks 7 goals 1. And has Gemma Houghton taken a mark with a minute to go. I love that for Gemma, by the way. I know we've talked about her a bit, but just swinging back to her, it's just like she's been there from the start. We've obviously talked about her journey to get to Port Adelaide a little bit as well. And, she had unfortunate, her first year, I think, was injury. She did I can't remember exactly what it was, but she had a decent, she kicked our first goal in history and then our first goal at Alberton as well. She kind of got off to a good start, got injured in that first year, had a good year last year, but she's just like, as this team builds, she's finding ways to be really influential and seems such a popular figure as well. And in Indigenous round to get her kicking a goal that seals a win to get us our first home final, I think that's kind of a moment that as I said, she's already in our history books because of those first goal things, but now she's kicked the goal to get us our first home final. It's just like in years to come when we look back in the extensive trophy laden history or museum that we have at Alberton, just an FYI.
That's it. Yeah. There'll be a women's wing of the museum, and yeah, she'll be. Erin Phillips will probably be seat 1A in terms of how they display our women's legends, and Gemma will be right there with her, I would imagine, one day.
Hopefully, like this Guernsey that she's wearing, like I don't know what they do, but it would be awesome if they've just made sure to grab that Guernsey she was wearing that day and say, yeah, we're keeping this one for the museum or something like that. Like, that's the kind of Guernsey, like, especially,
she did it wasn't, I thought she was going to do like a jumper tug, but it kind of looked more like a from the heart kind of.
Yeah, it's like a mini bow and arrow thing, but yeah, like it didn't. Yeah,
yeah, it was like I don't know. Yeah, like 2 hands on the heart, and then I don't know. Yeah, it was still kind of cool though.
Yeah. I know
if it was from the heart, and like she's doing that to the crowd, like all the Port Adelaide fans, it's like we're one. Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah, this is for you.
I can't wait for the
just
vibes,
awesome
vibes this week as well.
She's a talisman of our side, that's for sure.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of other players we'll get to, and I know we'll get to a few in our votes. I'm just trying to look through the list here, and again, I think Emily Borg didn't have a whole lot of stats, but just I mentioned last week. I mean, we got her in our votes last week. I think she's just a real general down there. We didn't have the best event. Like, I don't think it's overly just on the defense, just how the ball was coming in. They got some good entry going in, and sometimes just
left us exposed a little bit.
Yeah, which is as we've talked about in the men's game, when you're getting a little bit beaten in the middle at times by pressure and contest and whatnot, then that can breed a little bit
turnovers.
Of looseness in the defensive end when they're having to kind of repel things and getting a chance to get set before it's coming back or whatever. But Jermac had a really nice moment coming into the center of the ground and taking an intercept mark and stuff like that. Borg, I think, again, is just growing into real general down the back. I really.
She's going to be a superstar. Lauren Arnell was even advocating for her to be in all Australian
Yeah,
conversations
I like that. Yeah,
in a press conference, I think leading up to the game on the
she was.
weekend, which
Yeah,
yeah, I was like, that's a real Ken Hinkley kind of move. Just sort of
yeah,
like, yeah, try and put your players who might not be in conversation like up in lights a little
mm,
bit. Uh, and we're talking about a squad of 44 or 40, however they do it in the women's still. I'm not too sure actually, but yeah, not first team honors.
mm,
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting by Coach Arnell. But in
yeah,
all honesty, I see where she's coming from. Absolutely, and I know you can as well because yeah, she just does have that essence about her, and I just with every game that she has like this, I just get a bit of a warm and fuzzy because we've earlier in the women's season, we were talking about like X factor in each third, and we were
mm,
talking about how if Borg can just elevate that little bit more, she's 100% that X factor player that that we would that we would
mm,
need in the defensive third, and from that moment. She keeps taking steps towards that and
yeah,
had some great games over the last month. And like Lauren Arnell said, and like we've said, she does tend to be taking the better forwards in the opposition of the opposition. Sorry.
mm,
So yeah, um, really impressed with her. Another northeastern girl. Um, so yeah,
yeah.
got a
It's
lot of time for
you got
people
a lot.
from the northeastern suburbs.
They stick close together. I think it's really impressive as well, considering the kind of defensive, and obviously Cuthbertson going out changed the defensive like they needed, and she's kind of stepped up as a leader down
Yeah.
there as well. Um, and yeah, you can kind of now see for her, I think you can just see it in her demeanor and how she carries herself on the field. It's like something's clicked a little bit as the years gone on,
Mm.
and she's always been, I think, an intelligent footballer and whatnot. But it's actually just whether it's just the game's starting to slow down for her. It's kind of like they talk about it in
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about it in
That's
baseball
a
when it
great way to put it.
slows down for you. The baseball's coming at you and you're seeing it like a beach ball rather than a penny. You know what I'm like? It's just like um, unfortunately none of the Yankees
Seeing him
players.
watermelons
Yeah,
in
no,
cricket. Yeah. Seeing him like
yeah,
beach balls.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of how the game's going for her. Is it's just like it's slowed down a little bit and she's finding herself in position better to take those marks that she's taking. I can't remember. I'm trying to actually see quickly as I look at my list here. Um, she didn't actually take a mark for this game, so that probably fuck me, right?
Yeah.
But in general, I
I
think she,
noticed her getting very frustrated. I think she copped a few, like talking about contentious umpiring
oh,
decisions. I think she was on the wrong end of a handful of them,
there's at
where
one
she
point
either should have got one or she was penalized for a couple of things that,
she was at
yeah,
one point
probably
getting
could have been
tackled
let
and
go.
just had her arms out, kind of looking exasperated, and it just like clearly didn't have the ball, and she's being just
Yeah.
dragged to the ground, and she's got
Penalized.
her arms out, and I don't know if she got penalized in that moment, but
But,
she
oh, yeah.
she should have got a free kick, but it just played on, and there
Yeah.
was a few moments where it did lead directly to GWS goals as well. So take that, Rocco. It happened the other way. So Dave Lloyd's right,
Yeah. And that's
but yeah,
exactly right.
there were some
Like,
moments we could really see
yeah.
the exasperation from our girls. Just like what are the parameters here that we're working with? Because I just clearly
Yeah.
because it wasn't even disguised; it was clear as day kind of stuff that was getting missed here and there. Like,
Yeah, you've just
um,
reminded me on the other end of the ground, Josie Mills Robinson had disposed of the ball on two separate occasions that stick in my mind and was literally tackled without the football on
yeah,
two separate occasions and play on.
mm,
Uh, and I know one of them was definitely inside 50. I can't precisely remember where the other one was, although I know that there was definitely two instances that happened to her specifically. So
mm.
again, yeah, is that a shot on goal for the one that I can remember? If
Yeah,
it's paid, and yeah,
she's one of our strong boots in the team too, depending on where it's the kicks potentially from. We've seen with her
yeah,
snapping prowess this year that she can get some energy on the
yeah.
ball.
Well,
Um,
and it was the Bob Quinn end as well.
yeah, so a
That
little bit
the
of aid.
one is so got a bit of wind on your back as well, which
Yeah,
aids.
Yeah. No, it was an interesting game. We don't want to keep going over the umpiring, but it did make the game so wild to watch in the sense that we just didn't know what the parameters were at any given time.
It
Which
was the
makes
Wild
it,
West.
yeah, adds an extra little bit of stress as a fan because sometimes you do get a sense of how a game is being officiated and go, okay, it's one of those games. Like if they're letting that go both ways, whatever. Like I'll just deal with it. But then when it's just so up and down, it's just you don't get a stable baseline. It adds an extra layer. Certainly does for me. I know I get more stressed in a game where I'm just like I don't know what's going to happen at any
Don't
given
know what's
time.
going on. Don't know what to expect. And you can
Yeah,
tell the players in football as a whole, when stuff like that's happening, even the players become a little apprehensive and at stages. And
I've seen a port
yeah,
team.
sometimes they'll like a whistle will
Yeah,
go and everyone's looking at the umpire because no one knows what it's for. Uh,
yeah,
the
they're not
beauty of
lining
our
up for it.
game,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Oh, we love it. It's warts and all, and it feels like a lot of warts at times. But
Yeah.
yeah. Did you have it? I'm trying to think. There was a lot
Well, I was
more.
going to say off the back of that topic, like credit
Mm,
to the crowd. I mean, you mentioned the crowd earlier in the piece,
yeah.
but they definitely lifted with the game,
Mm,
and quite clearly in the telecast getting frustrated at some of the things we've spoken about, but then again willing our team over the line with their boisterous supporting, cheering. Yeah, it was coming through loud and clear in the
yeah.
telecast, and even, it was commented on as well. Yeah, just a fantastic. Like I'm, I'm a bit surprised and not surprised at that crowd. Like 4,000, that's a great effort. Obviously, a
Some.
lot of people cottoning on to the fact that like this team's doing pretty well. It's the
Mm,
last opportunity that we knew of at that stage to see them at home.
mm,
It was a beautiful day. All social sport or amateur sport had kind of been done and
mm.
over with essentially by that time. Probably a bit of junior cricket going around, but coming to the end of their days. So a real perfect opportunity to fill up Alberton. And
Mm.
yeah, again, like I said to you, I would have been an exhausted mess if I went. Yeah, on one hand, I'm glad I didn't go from that point of view, but yeah, great effort from the crowd. That was awesome.
Yeah, and great kind of synergistic thing. Is that a word? It is now.
It is now.
Yeah, the team responded, and I think I think something that just came to my mind as you were talking again to just highlight and stamp down on. I love the to lead into this the post that the PAFCW Instagram page did, and possibly one on Twitter, I assume, of what it meant. Like saying the caption was like, "This is what it means to Loz Arnell," like tagging her and like her passionate celebrations in
Yeah,
the rooms and a
cheering.
few different
Yeah,
photos. She's one that
one of her Brisbane days.
I
I
didn't actually see
saw.
that one. I just saw that there was just one. It was just one of her. There was just one I think I shared in the Creed Instagram
Yeah,
story, just of her,
her in the
just
rooms.
yeah, just
Yeah,
like real player energy. Which obviously she was a player only a couple of years ago.
it might have actually been the AFLW account that I'm remembering. But yeah, they put up the coloured photo of her in the rooms after Sunday's game, and then they
Mm.
put up a image of her in her Brisbane days. Obviously, she's kicked a goal or something, and she's just cheering with the crowd, just really passionate. And yeah,
Love
yeah,
it. Good side by side. Yeah.
fantastic.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we've talked about it a lot this year because we've wanted to give her because I think last year being our second year and people are already getting antsy wanting to see results and we didn't have a great second year. It was just kind of a plateau, I guess. There was some good sign, but it was still just a very young team developing. You already
Yeah,
start getting those things like, oh, is Arnell like? There's not too much of it around, thankfully, because I think a lot of people were cognizant of what kind of team or what we're doing, building with a very heavy youth movement and whatnot. But it was still the occasional, just like, oh, do we need to already, but you can clearly see that this team and her message is clearly being responded to very well. Like she talks about, I really love that they often catch her at 3/4 time in our games and talk to her, and she, as you mentioned to me in messages and during the week about me talking about her "Be Relentless" thing and
yeah.
shirt designs. She was talking about wanting to be relentless and really drive home the result last week, which was good, and we did. And this week it was, more about the criticisms of what we're not doing right, but keep. Also, there's constantly a message from him is like we are starting to trust in our game plan and what we can do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's
and
lots
the
of things to work
fitness.
on. Yeah, but the fitness and she just reinstilling those messages, and the players seem to really respond to her and love her as their coach. And I'm really enjoying seeing the actual, fruits of that labor on the field. Like you can see the response coming when it comes, and we saw it, the West Coast game a few weeks or a month back now, when we were down by 20 at quarter time without having fired a shot, and then we end up winning comfortably in the end. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
real tangible results to both her. I don't know if it's even changing things much, just instilling messages, maybe altering little different things here and there. Obviously, well, the West Coast game, it was figuring out a way to stagnate the influence of Ella Roberts, those kind of things. And then this week, it was just, I don't know if it was more about just actually just instilling some belief that this game was, I don't know exactly what it was. We just upped our finally, and again, the fitness you mentioned, we ran the
Mm.
game out well. GWS were GWS. I always find that just I tongue twist myself when I'm saying I should just say the Giants, but I think it's just like it was reinstilling that message that yes, we are the team that can run the game out better than like it's almost like we feel like we can run a game out almost better than anyone at this point. We're young, we're fit, and they can only do so much because I think we're getting beaten for disposals most of the way through, but in the last quarter we were +8, so we got ourselves our hands on the ball more. Had 17 tackles to 11 in the final quarter as well, so we just upped the pressure, upped
Mm.
the ability
And
to
we
get our
kicked three
hands on the.
goals to one.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah, so it all. Yeah, and yeah, against a team that was really playing out of their skins compared to, like we said, the tackle numbers for GWS
that,
were
yeah.
far and away
Yeah.
better than what they've done for all year by a long shot. So to battle that kind of a team that has nothing to lose but everything, they're just trying to find a way to win the season, finish the season strong. And sometimes those teams can be really dangerous. We had injuries as well, and obviously Dowrick and Schultz, but we've still got to remember that we've down a few players that we were hoping to have this year as well, right from the start, or a couple of
Yeah, it
a couple.
definitely it exposed a bit of our underbelly for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Like if you take out a couple of those crucial pieces, like how does the team look and how do they adapt to that when they can't rely on our best movers and shakers in that regard? And
I would say, like, I
yeah,
mean,
like
take Ebony Marinoff and Caitlin Gould out of the Crows or something like that. Just two that came off the top of my head. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that
out
is
of any
also,
team.
by the way, I'm
Yeah,
not being
yeah,
snarky.
absolutely.
That's me showing respect. But Caitlin Gould's, I think, the Crows' leading goal kicker, and Ebony
Yeah.
Marinoff. Ebony Marinoff's going to win the best and fairest this year for the league. Like, whatever they do, they have a name for that yet? It should be the Aaron Phillips Medal.
No, I think
Um,
it's just the W best and fairest.
Yeah. So you take her out of that team and maybe one other, the leading goal kicker or whatever. It's going to fundamentally change our Adelaide play too. So
Mm.
for us to battle through that with Dowrick and Schultz, obviously, but then even just the ones that are missing, Indy up until she got injured last year was actually having a nice season for us last year, and obviously she hasn't been able to get back for this year. I was really enjoying JC's captaincy and work early in defense this year, and so there's some big players out and some youthful players like your Schultzes and your Piper Window. I don't know. There's a few players that I don't know if they would have played every game this year if there's some player, but then they've flourished because of it. So yeah, it's
Exactly right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the fact that we found a way to get the result still just is what matters. Is like if you can battle those I'm not trying to think of the right word. There's trials and tribulations of a game week where you've got late outs and all that kind of stuff, and you haven't adjust on the fly because Dowrick being out with an hour before the game is a big adjustment for that team to make. So you're having players
Yeah, for
having to
sure.
suddenly change what they're planning to do during the game. So for us to work through that and win the game still, and is a credit to both the girls on the field, obviously, but again, going back to just how I started the point, it's a credit to Arnell and the coaching squad as a whole. Is just I'm really impressed with how they're developing as a
Yeah.
coaching team as well. Um,
Yeah, I
Good to see
agree.
it on both, on and off the field is the development of the side is really pleasing to watch. And yeah, gave us a moment because we've had some fun wins in the AFLW this year. Obviously, fair few of them, some comfortable ones.
Yeah.
Last year, I think last year's win against St Kilda had an Aaron Phillips and Hannah Ewing's late goals that were really fun and gave us kind of one of our first close wins last year. But for this one to be what was on the line as well, and it felt like right up until those last few minutes, it just didn't feel like it just felt like it was going to peter out, and then suddenly we get that goal with 4 minutes to go to get us within a goal. And I'm blanking on who scored that lead up one.
Saint.
It was that was the Gemma Houghton. That was the Houghton to Saint Hamble.
The
Yeah,
flick off. Yeah.
yeah, really good
Great
work.
piece of play.
Yeah, and just kind of highlights why it's so good to have those two athletic kind of forward players that, yeah, because they just, yeah, Houghton's handball and then just opening up the space for Saint to run in. And yeah, as he said, kind of close shave it, but the goal's a goal. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those plays that kind of unfolded in a little bit of slow motion for me. Like I could see, I could see in front of me what
immediately it
should have happened.
Yeah,
and then it happened. Yeah, because the ball thankfully bounced the right way, and for Gemma to take it and dish it off. Yeah, I can't remember who kicked it inside 50. I want to say Jazzy Stewart, but I don't actually think.
I actually think it could have been though, because she had a few nice kicks in this game, like real nice.
She did, yeah,
penetrating balls, kind of like off the on the defensive side of the square, and that would pierce almost the 50 basically. So it was yeah, she's kind of lifted in the back half of this year as well, I think, which is really nice.
I was actually thinking to myself while I was watching it, because she didn't start the season in the first team,
No,
if you want
didn't.
to call it that.
Yeah.
But she came in, and I think she's held her spot the whole way through since she came in. Maybe for the West Coast game, she came in for the first time this season.
Yeah, it felt like it was a decent way into the season that she came in. And
but even that was a bit into the season. I'm not sure, but yeah, I was thinking to myself as well. She just one of those role players that just keeps ticking some boxes in her role. She's, I think, one of our better kicks as well. She's got an interesting kicking style, the way she holds the ball, and but it's just one of those things where it just connects with her foot. And
Kane Farrell kind of drive to it. Like there's a little bit of that too.
I can see what you mean by that.
Yeah, not at all like the same, but yeah.
Yeah, unassuming in the setup, but then it generally finds its intended target or pierces up the field. So yeah, just been really happy for her. Obviously in Indigenous round again, to bring that up, particularly for her. It's a credit to how she's assimilated within our side and improved as the season's gone on to hold her spot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Did you have anything else in particular before we get to votes? Because I know there's probably a few players that I'm.
Nah, let's get going.
All right, cool. Votes, player of the year votes. I love that we've gotten to the end of the Mitre round, by the way, and that we still have more weeks. At least one more week to do this. So we won't have a final count yet, but you get to go first on your votes. And I found it a really interesting week, kind of taking Abby and Schultz out, kind of just really opens
you just can't plug out Abby in the 5 spot.
Exactly. But yeah, a fun one to do. So yeah, I'll let you go first and see where we ended up.
Yeah, all right. Obviously, got to start out with some honourable mentions. I had Caitlin Wendland here written. We've spoken about her. Just, yeah, not much more to be said than what I did before. Just love how she's impacting on games and contributing on the scoreboard in a game that is Aussie Rules football in AFLW, where goals are worth their weight in gold. She just keeps having a knack of contributing on top of her tackling pressure, which has been there throughout the whole season.
Yeah,
to her credit, 6 tackles and 3 of those inside 50 for her. I didn't have it written down, but I just wanted to give an honourable mention to Ash Saint, who kicked that second to last goal for us. I mentioned Olivia Levicki, who had a good go at it. this game in the centre and was obviously given the task to just be that number one ruck. I did think that we could have brought Ash Satan into the mix a little bit earlier in the match to just kind of get her influence, just to change things up a little bit when things weren't quite going for us, because I've made my feelings known about how I value her kind of new role, or her new position in her career. Whereas before coming to Port Adelaide, she was just a genuine forward, as far as I believe. But now she's got attributes that can contribute further up the ground to our benefit. And just that she's got a bit of a knack of putting on the right pressure and right body, dishing it out, just impacting. Yeah, I just loved her game as a whole, albeit not a stats game that jumps off the page. Just contributing, and I meant to bring it up before about how I thought she could have been brought into the game a bit earlier, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So anyway, my one vote goes to Kirsty Lamb. Again, spoke about her earlier, just her thirst for trying to will us over the line, just continually trying to impact in contest and drive the ball forward. 12 disposals for her, 10 of which were contested. She had 225 metres gained. She obviously kicked that fantastic goal, one goal assist as well within her 3 scoring involvements, and 5 clearances too for Kirsty Lamb. Loved her game. My 2 vote is Piper Window. Potentially a little bit harsh for her, and I wouldn't be surprised if you had her a little bit higher. She had the 14 disposals, 10 of which were contested for her as well. She had 347 metres gained, which was best for Port, 6 clearances, 4 out of the centre, which again, I think is best for us, and 3 inside 50s. I think the thing that dropped it down before, you touched on it earlier, was I think she tried to bite off a little more than she could chew on a few occasions. I think she ended up leading us for turnovers, and I think those were mostly from free kicks against. Because I don't have that stat line in my bunch of stats on hand. But putting that to one side, I thought she had a fantastic game, and again, a bit like Levicki and Ruck, without Dowrick, Window got a real good crack at spending a lot of time around stoppage, and she just kind of foreshadowed again what she will become in the years coming up. So she tried to bite off a little more than she could chew in a contest perspective, and as well as that is, I think over the off season and over the next couple of off seasons, I think she really needs to work on her kicking ability. She tends to hold the ball a little too far away from her body, which means she can't really drive through it. So she had 347 metres gained. If she just fixed her ball drop to get better connection with her foot, that is going from 350 odd to about 500 in this game specifically. Those clearances while they're out of centre, maybe dropping to between 35 metres and 40. If she just works on her kick, they're getting closer to the goal square, which, as we know, is super valuable in AFLW. So the clearances are more damaging. The metres gained are higher. It's just an observation that I've made. But loves her game. Don't want to take anything away from her in that regard. I thought she contributed fantastically well. 3 votes goes to Olivia Levicki for me. Yeah, like I said before, she got the keys to the first ruck spot, and I thought she put in a great effort. Probably didn't appreciate it as well at first. Like I said, I'll bring Ash Saint into the middle, when Levicki, when you sit back and look at it, she kind of started the game with a bit of and throughout the game had a bit of aggression about her. Maybe was told to play with a bit of aggression, or just found a bit of intrinsic aggression, knowing that I've got an opportunity to impact as first ruck, so I'm going to give it my all. 39 hit outs, which was best on the ground for both teams, as far as I believe. 14 disposals, 13 contested. So pretty much all of her disposals were contested. She actually went at 71.4% disposal efficiency as well, which is fantastic for AFLW game. 2 marks, one of which was contested, 3 clearances, 2 of those from the centre, and she had 4 1%ers, which was leading for us. So, yeah, credit to her. Great game. My 4 votes goes to Sinead Goody. 13 disposals, 8 of which were contested. She went at 92.3% disposal efficiency, which is the main reason she got pushed up. It was commented on in the telecast, just playing a bit of a wing role, which can be a bit thankless at times, but anytime she was around the ball, provided me with a little bit of comfort knowing how she can use it. She had 270 meters gain. She had 5 marks, which is a great effort, one of which is contested. 4 inside 50s and 8 tackles, which is huge. And that leads me to my 5 votes, which is Maria Maloney. So while we didn't have Dowrick to plug into 5 or Schultz to go into the top 5, Maria Maloney is just, a fantastic contributor and has been for the whole season and for much of our AFLW existence. She led from the front, 17 disposals, 13 of which were contested. She had 266 meters gain, 2 score involvements, 3 clearances, 3 inside 50s. She had a fucking huge 14 tackles, which, is amazing. And 4 of those were inside 50. So, a real stalwart of our team. And, with the absence of a couple key cogs, she definitely lifted and relished, being able to be that greater influence on how the game unfolded for us.
Yeah, you could kind of tell with Maria that I assume once Dowrick was out, they kind of said, you're basically going to do her. Like, we need you to get, I mean, Maria kind of plays that kind of game anyway, but she really kind of stepped up to take on some of that load that Abby does in the like she just pounded into some contests and got the ball kind of moving out of them and just with some class as well. She's a real classy mover as well when you actually watch the way she goes about it, which is really cool.
She's in the defense force. She doesn't take shit from anyone.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Clearly got some good discipline about her too, and she just goes about it. And I love it. Pretty similar in our votes to this week, but I did have honourable mentions for the likes of Ash Saint and certainly Kirsty Lamb. I couldn't quite get in there, but it's only because I wanted to get 1 vote in for Caitlin Wendland.
Funny thing is, I actually had it that way and then changed it.
It's like that.
I had Wendland in the 1 and Kirsty as an honourable mention.
There we go.
Had to switch it when I wrote my stats down.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like Wendland's stats are, it's not like it's huge disposal numbers or anything like that, but it is. She did take 3
Small
marks.
forward though.
She had 6 tackles, and she had and the 2 goals, obviously, which in a game that we were trying to peg our way back the entire time. Like, it was just real clutch stuff from her again. And I think it's her first multi-goal game, possibly.
I think that West Coast game. I think she kicked a couple.
Yeah,
she had a couple set shots. I think in the West Coast game.
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Completely blanking on that one. Actually, that's one I didn't watch live, so I watched some replays. So that always changes my memory of things when I haven't watched them live because you don't have that tangible impact thing of watching it live and having that emotional response to it. But yeah, I just love the fact she had kind of one of those just great small forward games with a couple of goals. 6 tackles, 3 marks, and as we've talked about a lot, like the marking in our team sometimes can leave a lot to be desired. So when players are taking 3 or 4 in a game at least, or even taking a couple, sometimes we can really appreciate it. And she's growing as the season goes on. My 2 vote, I don't actually need to spend too much time on the rest of mine because they're all players that you had as well. My 2 votes went to Piper as well. It was one of those games I really kind of could have had her up higher, but the holding the ball calls where I was just like that does drop you down because that was clear. While we've talked a little bit of constructive criticism on the umpires, the couple of times she got caught holding the ball were really kind of like, you need to be. She's young.
Just give it off.
She's 18.
Just give it off.
Yeah, she's gonna have to sometimes you've just got to learn from it. You're gonna have to make the mistakes to learn the pace of the game. And she's having a great
credit to her for wanting to take the game on, and she may get to a stage of her career where she can bust through some of those tackles. But yeah, just
Yeah,
yeah,
not quite
in the
there
moment,
yet.
just give off a handball, get it into space because space is something we struggled to find on the day.
Mm. Especially with kind of playing a way that it is keep the ball moving and don't get yourself caught holding too much. Really, is kind of how we've
Yeah,
developed this season into being a successful season so far. So, yeah, it was interesting to watch her kind of get caught those couple of times. But yeah, overall, as you said, the stats, I was really just pleased with it. Like her yeah, you can see the gem of a real good or genesis of a real talent there
I wonder
already.
if it'll be enough to get a Rising Star nomination because it's being the last minor round game.
Oh, I feel like they've already been.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Four nominations in 11
Yeah,
rounds.
I feel like I'm actually
I
just.
don't because I'm speaking from a point of view where I have no idea about any of the other young guns across the competition, so it's
Yeah,
hard to say.
I'm just googling now because I feel like it got named. I feel that for some reason I think
Yeah, it generally does by now, doesn't it?
yeah, it was a St Kilda player got named for this week. So there you go,
Boo.
jo Genomi Anderson. She's got like one of those names where it's like a J and then an apostrophe and then Naomi.
Ah, okay.
Anyway,
They should do it for finals then.
yeah,
And
exactly.
hopefully she plays a great final.
Yeah, because I don't know if they have the same eligibility rules, but she's played every game this year. So if they do just go with the 10 games,
Ah,
then she's
yeah.
already out of eligibility, which would suck. But hopefully they maybe have a percentage of the season. So it would, no, she'd still be ineligible. So yeah, I think she's
Yeah, next year,
unfortunately,
yeah.
yeah, oh, she's just going to have to win a fucking premiership instead. So that'll show them. Yeah, so yeah, she was my two votes. My three votes, I went with Levicki as well. I was really impressed with the fact that she kind of took the load and played the game as best she could as like a taking on that Matilda Schultz. You can't emulate her as exactly, but you can kind of try to play the role how she does to disrupt the opposition. And yeah, she had
And it did
four.
seem that she was taking a few leaves out of the Schultz playbook.
That's what I
I
thought too.
noticed, yeah, just trying to punch the ball forward on a few occasions, which look isn't groundbreaking stuff, but just in comparison to how she's played other games this season, she yeah, just had a certain edge about her in some certain regards.
Yeah,
As I pad, well, yeah, fix
I
yourself up there, Dave.
I just I was taking a sip of my beer. Like, yeah, sure, listeners can hear. I was taking a sip of my beer, and I think something you said just made me go like start to nod, and then but like it just like the coordination just wasn't there for a moment, and then like just a little bit of beer dribbling down through the beard. So apologies for that. But yeah, I mean, she had a couple of clearances. She operated at 71% efficiency, which, as we've said, beyond like Goody and I think, I mean, Emily Borg's got 100%, but she only had three
Some of the
disposals. So,
lower disposal getters,
yeah.
yeah, had some, yeah,
But when you're up there in a top three or four disposal numbers and operating at 71% in a game that we have talked about being a little bit questionable on that front again. Um, and yeah, 13 of those 14 disposals were contested possessions. And yeah, taking a couple of marks as well, which you want her to do as a tall ruckman. But as we've been talking about with Matilda at times, it's easier said than done. Obviously, we've
yeah.
improved as the years gone on. But yeah, no, I'm really, as I think I said last week when I did the recording on my own, she is a player that's having to kind of fill roles depending on because she's been brought into the side at times due to injury. And
Yeah,
when her at full fitness, I don't know if there's a place for her just because of her site, like her player profile is just
just
it
her,
sometimes
yeah, her
doesn't fit.
position,
Unfortunately, yeah.
yeah.
But she's certainly given us the confidence that she can play a role. Excuse me. If she, is called upon, and certainly in this game, there's so much going on as far as how we were, having to battle with the players missing and all those kind of things. I think she applied herself really well. Which
Credit
leads
to
me,
her. I agree. That's a
yeah,
great shout.
yeah. I'm glad we both got her in there. That's really good.
Yeah,
My
and
four.
like she's one of those players that's come from she specifically her. She's come from a basketball pathway. I think she
Mm,
was playing in the WNBL beforehand, I
Okay.
believe. So again, one of those unnatural football pathways that some of
Mm.
the players around the league have come from, and yeah, she's just trying to make her own mark on our side. Um, yeah, having to be, yeah, like you said, plugged into different spots, whether it be mid ruck or forward. She hasn't really been plugged down back at all. But yeah, just trying to make her mark in any
Yeah.
game that she's picked for.
Yeah, and she helped us get a win this week, so got to give her credit for that too. My 4 and 5 actually is flipped from yours. It
Nice.
was really difficult too because I think Maloney for a while I was like I had her best on, but Goody, I like the way she presents herself. I really just find her such a classy player. Just the way like I think she's just class beyond her years. Also like that she
I think
seems
she's got a
to.
bit of dark arts about her also coming to the fore,
Oh yeah,
which we
I
obviously
fucking
like.
love.
Yeah,
I've noticed in the post game, there's a little bit. I think it might have been after the Gold Coast game. Actually, they just showed her just being a pest
being a
to other.
rascal.
Yeah, she's just walking up behind
Yeah,
Gemma Houghton. Just I think it was Gemma, just doing like little fucking shuckers like in her ear, like just
yeah,
like, I don't know,
yeah. I know. Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Getting around a few people.
yeah. So she's just
Just
like got a little bit of that. Yeah, she's like a pest in the best possible way as a teammate, which means it
yeah,
tells
it's
you something about the
endearing.
personality of her as a player too. Is that she's kind of got that confidence and yeah, the way she plays, yeah, certainly like she's. Well, I think we've talked about it as her with her coming in this year as one of those players that's grown up now, having had AFLW probably from about the age of 10 for her. So she's had a pathway through in for her
Yeah,
full teen years. Um, and you can kind of see that she's just like she's that next generation of player that's got a real class about her right from the off. Um, Operating at 92%, which is fantastic, as you said. Yeah, a lot of stats I
yeah,
don't need to go
awesome.
over again, but yeah, and obviously I had Maloney in the 4 spot, which was it was tough. Like those two, I had them top two straight away, and I was just trying to find the ways to. And I thought just with Goody taking 5 marks, the 8 tackles, operating at just an incredible percentage of disposal efficiency as well, considering the game it was. I thought just yeah, she's just a couple of goals away here and there from having a really explosive like debut season. She's already, I mean, she obviously got the first Rising Star nomination of the year. Um, I don't know what the Rising Star actually landscape is beyond our team. Like I don't have an idea of who's leading possibly, but
Yeah,
she
yeah,
hasn't been in her best players every week, obviously. Like she's been up like in and out and whatever, but she's always presenting. Like she's never been unnoticed in a game. Like she's always presenting a couple of games where she's missed a couple of goals or whatever, or but she's
yeah.
never missing by much, or she's just like it's just like a little bit of bits of polish here
No,
and there, but not that
like I
much
said,
needed.
you like for me, like I said before, there's a sense of comfort whenever she's around the ball or
Mm,
particularly has the ball, which is telling, I think, in the context of our side and the competition as a whole. But I think Daniel Harford in one of our recent games was asked a question, um, like where the Rising Star was going to come from, and he said that he thought it was going to be one of the Port girls. So yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah, hopefully it is one of them. We've given our club a good chance of
yeah,
nabbing it with 3 nominees, but I mean, if Matilda Shots, yeah, like
yeah. You
it's a
feel like
pretty
she,
good, it's a pretty good player. Being her second year, just being eligible as well. It's yeah, a
yeah,
little bit unfair, but I don't care.
she's still only
You would say she'd
19.
have to be up there considering
Yeah,
that she's nominated and she's a gun.
yeah,
But yeah, like you said, I'm the same. I don't really know outside of our 4 walls.
yeah. I'm really excited for like there's so many. It's also incredible considering that again we've said I think the best player that we took well picked up last year in our list player movements was one that didn't even get to take the field this year and is the one that everyone was excited for a good year and a half. So
Oh yeah,
players like Goody to come in, Molly Brooksby being the other Rising Star nomination, Piper Window as we said probably unlucky that she hasn't gotten one. I think there was a game a couple of weeks ago. I thought Piper could have been a chance, but yeah, and again, I didn't talk about Maria Maloney too much in all of that, but I love the way. Although I kind of backed off of what you were saying about her, just her discipline and how she goes about it. She was the 4 and 5 was very difficult this week for me, but there was a couple of little stat things and just how just the my one game viewing. It's always the thing that I know you and I talked about that we haven't got a replay in this week because obviously it was a Sunday evening game essentially. And Monday yesterday, and we're recording on Tuesday night now. It's just like I haven't had. Often Sunday night is when I do get my replay in if a game is in earlier in the weekend. But so when the game is live on a Sunday night is usually
makes it tough.
Yeah, but did watch the game pretty intently, so I feel pretty good about the votes. And we're get to do another week of it this week, which is really, really fun.
Absolutely.
Really nice, by the way, as we lead into just briefly touching on the Richmond game that's coming up at Alberton this Sunday at 2:30. I think it's 2:35, whatever I think is the exact time. Really weird time slot. A few people have made mention of the fact that it's kind of like right in the heat of the day, which would be interesting. I can't actually know what the exact forecast is. I might look that up now while I'm talking, but really pleasing aspect of the weekend is that we went into our game obviously already having finals locked up, which is really a positive part as well. Like we just were playing for the right for a home final, which we
may have contributed to a bit of lethargy or
because
the appearance of lethargy.
Yeah, I talked about it on the podcast last week, and I was like, I went through some of the permutations, and it was like pretty likely that we were going to be guaranteed that spot. It just depended on if there was a big win in the teams that were behind us because just the way the points were, it was a pretty likely that we're going to be guaranteed. But we just had to let the games play out and make sure it was. But obviously the home final was on the table. And to be fair, Richmond and Hawthorn, I think at 3/4 time was only a couple of points between them. Hawthorn pulled away. Obviously, they had a fair bit on the line to get $1 million for their club by winning that game.
Right. Actually, Richmond pulled ahead in the last quarter.
I
saw the final score. So,
okay.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was close. I didn't watch so I didn't actually realize that Richmond got themselves there.
Hawks kicked the last 4 goals of the game to
there you go.
Cruise away.
Yeah, because it looked pretty comfortable in the end. But Richmond gave a good account of themselves to try to stave off the chance of us. And then obviously we, for a while, the commentators were constantly talking about the fact we were probably going to have to go play Freo. It came up towards as the stretch of the game went down, which would have been interesting with Gemma having to go over and play against their old side in Freo. But as it turned out, we did the job, and obviously have got Richmond coming to Alberton Oval this weekend at 2:30 on Sunday. And I was starting to Google and didn't end up finishing that, but Alberton weather, I'm just Googling that now while we talk about it. So it'll be interesting to see what the weather brings us on Sunday, which Alberton, South Africa is not what I was looking for.
Well, just from a timing perspective, it is a little bit interesting how they've scheduled all the finals. They're obviously, cognizant to the fact that now we've got summer sports still on Saturdays and then Sunday mornings as well. So just trying to, obviously, and the Thursday night probably still doesn't capture the fans in AFLW like a men's, like in the men's final now. Thursday night in the first week of finals is just a given, whereas they've done a Friday night, Saturday night, and then 2 Sunday games for the AFLW. So
looking like it's going to be 22 degrees at kickoff, so it's not too bad. But if it's sunny, then it can still be pretty warm at that time of year, like the feeling of it. So that'll be,
win the toss and kick with the breeze.
Yeah, and also just back in our fitness a little bit as well. I think we played a pretty good game in trying conditions up at the Gold Coast, last week as well. So we've got some good history of playing, and I think we're just a team that, because we are young and fit, that it's not something that I worry about too much. But also myself standing out there in the sun as a pale Irish descendant, had a few thousand more freckles to the complexion. We've talked a lot about at times. I've just at times when we've been talking about a run of games and some of the teams we played prior to getting on our winning run. We've talked a lot about that Richmond game in the sense that we think we could have possibly stolen it if we'd had a better first quarter. So it does set up an intriguing matchup because we do have history against this team this year. There's plenty of teams in finals that we could have played that we haven't played. Obviously, Freo, we would have, if we played Freo, we would have played them. But a lot of teams in finals that we haven't played. But Richmond is a team that we do have a very recent look at, which is helpful.
Yep.
Um, and kind of the games like Richmond and the Kangaroos in the previous week were the games that really put the impetus into our side to work on kind of the slow start stuff as well. So I'm really intrigued by how we come out against this side this week because Richmond are in pretty good, reasonable touch as far as players that are fit. I think Monique Conti got their best on ground last week against Hawthorn this last week. So their stars are playing well, and she was a threat. Obviously, Katie Brennan as well was got off the leash a little bit early in that game. Conti obviously had plenty of ball, but once we got our game going, we actually really challenged them both in the contest and our ball. We just didn't quite get good entries and good goal scoring opportunities. We got the ball in deep a lot actually. It's just we didn't quite find our hands on it. But I think we've improved.
No, that's right. Yeah, left a few scores gone begging.
Yeah, but I think we've improved a lot in those aspects and our ball movements improved. Like that game was kind of the start of it for me, even though we ended up losing. I felt really confident afterward. I think we talked about it afterwards too. I think even just text messages, we were like, feel pretty good about that game, even though it was a loss. Because at that time we were still only a 1-win side at that point. So we're kind of just looking at we were looking at developmental things, and now we've gone on and won 6 in a row almost since that one. I think that might be
that's exactly right. Yeah, because we played Kangaroos and then Richmond, and then because we started that week of football and we ended that week of football because that's the condensed fixture.
Yeah.
That was the game where we started to put a focus on our marking ability as well. And while it's been up and down since then, I think it's been better overall in comparison to that game and the games like coming before it. You just again that reference point of actually playing them this year is going, can we atone for some of those mistakes that we made, particularly early in the first half? Can we get our marking to where it was in what was it? It was the St Kilda game where we were just on and we took was it between 40 and 50 marks. That would be great, and like we mentioned, that would avoid Richmond getting those return entries and letting Katie Brennan get off the chain. Borg had her lesser games against Richmond last time around, mostly due to the fact that we were kind of just handing it back to them on the arc of 50 and getting those repeat entries against. So, that, like you said, that we've gone to work since then. It's kind of been the line in the sand in a sense because of what's come after it has been fantastic. Got some troops to come back, which is ultra helpful. And while it's funny, Matilda Schultz was best on ground that game in terms of fantasy points, I still think she was still trying to hit her stride in terms of really making a huge impact on games. And then after that is when she started breaking games open. So again, we hope her injury question marks aren't too bad and the rest has served her well. So that she hits the ground running straight off the bat. Because I'm just checking now. She, that's right, because they have Tamara Luke, who's a more senior ruck, and they kind of matched it for hit outs last time around. So, assuming she comes back in, she would be gunning to really dominate that position this time around, particularly at home.
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing too. Is we obviously played that Richmond game away in a condensed fixture period, so it was a little bit different. There's a lot of things that were different about that time in the season. We certainly hadn't learned to win consistently yet. We've done that, so there's a lot of things that you can look to as positives. Obviously, the performance in the last 2.5 quarters of that game I thought was really positive. Obviously, Gemma turned it on, and it was just finishing at the end, despite the fact we really were putting a lot of pressure on. The home field advantage will be really really fun, and like I'm just excited that we get. It's really exciting that our first final ever in AFLW we get to play at Alberton. So that's a really cool
Yeah,
opportunity too. Is like we get an AFL
it's
final at
awesome.
Alberton. So
Yeah, I
good.
really want to go. Yeah.
I know you still. I know you've got. Yeah, it's the unfortunate thing about final, especially at this time of year. It's just like we've just gone through doing like short, short turnaround organizing finals thing in men's like a month ago, and now it's just like yeah, it's a good thing,
Yeah.
but it is also for us people that have to live in the real world, it is also sorting out things at short notice to try to make sure you can get there. Luckily I didn't have too many things. I just had to work it out with work, and thankfully that was fine. So that was it. Now I'm going, but yeah, it's gonna it'll be a really it's gonna be perfect weather. So again, we did it leading into. I think we talked about the GWS one for a few weeks going into it. We just kept on saying go go go. I don't think we need to implore too many people. I think a lot of people that are onto it now and will be going. But yeah, perfect weather. Certainly not going to be raining from the looks of things. So is probably just want to slip, slop, slap a little bit and get down there and enjoy it. There's nothing better than getting a pirate life, standing on sitting in the stands or just standing on the out of there somewhere. Did you notice
Standing on the mound.
they've taken the grandstands down? Those grandstands they put up, by the way. Did you notice that on the telecast?
I did not notice that,
Yeah,
but you would have think that they would be putting them straight back up for
you
a
would, but then
final.
I just thought I was like, why did they take them down in there? Because they were up for the last
For the
home
last
game,
game. Yeah,
the
that's
last
really
one we
weird.
were at. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to
Yeah,
see.
that's exactly right. They've been up the whole season.
Yeah,
It's so
it's just
weird.
I mean, unless I was seeing things, I just remember at one point there was a camera angle. I was like, "There's a lot of space," because they were very obvious
Yeah.
in watching on TV previously because they had the teal skirting on them and whatever. I was just like, I can just see right through to the fields at the back there. I think like they're not there.
Mm.
And then I didn't think about it much
Maybe
after
they
that. But
just wanted to encourage getting people to fill up the Quinn and Williams family stands because
yeah,
although that ain't those temporary stands on that other side of the ground were great and very helpful, I think free as well. They were a general admission
yeah, you
seat
could just go
rather,
around and sit
whereas
there.
the Quinn stands and Williams family stands are you need an upgrade, which is free if you're a member, by the way.
Mm.
A free upgrade to the grandstand. Maybe they wanted to encourage that, but yeah, really odd to do it on the last game of the minor round
Yeah, yeah.
with the
So
potential of a home final coming up.
yeah, I mean, and not wanting to. I mean, now that we have won it, it's like yeah, we can say it, but we were expected to win that game as well. Like,
Yes,
so
yeah,
it was like the home
100%.
final was, once the Richmond result, obviously we had to wait on that one, but that game was Hawthorn favoured as well. So all signs, if you're looking at odds, were pointing towards us playing a home final. So it's an interesting move. So it'll be interesting to see if they're there again, or maybe they just found they didn't have too much success with it. Like people, like, I mean, you and I, the last few games we were at, we just stood there anyway because it's like I enjoy that myself. Like thankfully,
Yeah. I like the atmosphere from the stand side of the ground.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah, you might be right because they were never full. I think even in the showdown week one, that I don't think they were full. But it's a nice option if it's
mm,
part of a GA ticket to have. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't notice that though.
not very
No.
important. It just came up to my mind now as we were getting to closing out. But yeah, I don't know what to think about a prediction. I'm it's our first final, and Richmond are one of those teams that has beaten us this year and all that stuff, and our winning run has come against a lot of teams below us, but
Yeah,
going
that's
going
it.
going with the fact that we did have a decent go at it against them, apart from that, obviously the first quarter and a bit was pretty tepid, but once we got our run going, we actually gave them some frights, and we got within 10 points. So, and there was, the commentators were like, "Oh, geez, Porter pushing," and they're
Yeah,
yeah. So there was a
it
lot of
was
things to
15. Yeah, I'm just looking at the worm now. It doesn't really tell the story of how we remember it. Like if you're just looking at your
yeah.
score worm, it looks fairly straight up and down for Richmond. But yeah, I think it was an effort
Yes.
based thing. And yes, we did close the gap. They got out to like a 5 goal margin, and we halved that and then they kind of kicked one late and it plateaued from there. But it was it was a real turn in energy, and you mentioned Gemma Houghton lifting, which brought everyone else into the game as well. That's it. Yeah, slow starts, whereas we've kind of addressed that more or less since. And look, to be honest, like everything is a bit of a bonus. From here on out, really. From to going from 2 wins and a draw to 7 wins. It's a fantastic effort. Maiden final series. I desperately hope that we can push deep, but being a bit realistic, we've still got things that kind of work to our detriment within our game and our game style, but we keep getting it done, and we've put it to some of the better teams. Even the Kangaroos game before this Richmond game earlier in the season, we got blown out of the water. Granted, they played a fantastic first half, but then we won the second half in a dour second half of football. Adelaide Crows, we've mentioned, had it not been for a couple of ill-disciplined free kicks in front of goal, the margin would be a lot smaller. So while we have the worst record against top 8 sides playing finals, we've put it up to the teams that we have played from the top 8, and just need a couple players to lift in their respective games, and need to hit the ground running at home. And it may just see us into week 2 of finals, because Richmond, ever since this game, whereas we've gone shooting through the roof, they've been a bit tumultuous since the game that we played against them in the condensed portion of the season. They've had some wins, so they've had some losses against teams that they'd probably think they should beat. They had the draw against Essendon in Darwin. They've had a couple of wins along the way, one against Collingwood I looked before, and so hard to gauge where they're at specifically. And because they were I think they were maybe third when we played them, and then they've dropped now down to 7th. So take of that what you will. Mugs playing roulette on our regard would say, the more blacks that come up, the red's just around the corner. So I'm hoping in a win-loss sense that's not the case for us. But a wave of momentum is that, you can't get any better than 6 games on the trot, wins that is,
and earning
against the Richmond side, who have been a bit up and down since we played them last. So go in with a little bit of confidence, and it's going to be hard fought. But look, I'm proud of the girls. However, this game falls really, and while I'll be disappointed if we lose, it's been a great season thus far, and I hope it continues for another couple of weeks still.
No, I absolutely agree, and that's probably where I think we started the season saying we want to push for finals and really make a good push for finals. We've done that already. We've ticked that box. We've now got a home final. We finished in 6th, so we didn't just scrape in. As we said, we had it locked up. We even had to.
I think I said pushing near the 8, if not, trying to crack the 8, and
I was like, if we'd been in play
6.
If we'd been in play for the 8 in the last week and just missed out by, maybe a half loss or a percentage or whatever, we'd been like, okay, that's, now let's really push for next year. But we've ticked that box and got ourselves a home final against an opposition that I think we both look at and go, they're a good team, and we'll have to be at our best and start well. Will be a big thing. But we both look at it and think there's a way to. There's certainly. It's not like we're playing. If we're playing Kangaroos, you sit there and go, they're undefeated. Might be a tough task, but we look at this one and go, there's a genuine chance we can get ourselves through to week 2 of the finals, and I think winning a final will be a really good boost to the girls as well. But as you said, either way, I'll be proud of the effort this season. They've learnt how to win and win consistently, and have built themselves a little bit of a game plan and understanding of who they are as a team. There's an identity to the team now, which is all these things that we were looking for this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Identity. Improvement. A lot of players have really improved on the season. A lot of role players as well as some of our big stars. And then there's an identity to the team. There's a ethos and all those things. And Arnell's coaching is improving as it goes, and the players are improving with her. And we're in finals, so it's a win season already, and now it's like playing with house money, and there's a genuine chance that you can get yourself a finals win as well. So yeah, can't wait. It's going to be a really um, nice, fun afternoon at Alberton, or if you, for you, I say that, and I'm like, I've already feel bad because I know you're not sure you'll get down there. So,
Yeah.
it's wherever we're watching from, it's going to be a really fun afternoon just to enjoy the girls playing in a final, and yeah, seeing AFL footy from Alberton in finals footy. It's a thing to appreciate. I think that's about it from me. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to
That's
tack on
about
to the
it.
end. Yeah.
Nah, good
Yeah.
to go. Good to go. Just hope for a great win on Sunday.
Yeah. Either way, we'll be back here next week reviewing and hopefully reviewing a good win. But we'll be reviewing with I think there'll be a sense of pride either way that we've been able to watch them play in a final this weekend
Yeah.
and really just a great season. So whatever it'll be, looking forward to it and looking forward to these girls getting out there. I think the big thing, just I think we haven't actually touched on it. I think the obvious thing that we think is happening is like Schultz and Darrick are coming back, but it did make me a little bit tentative seeing assessed still next to their name. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
and there is genuine. I think there's some genuine. I don't know. People are like, oh no, they just chose to rest him, but I think there might have been a little bit of something there as well. On I don't know why you just withdraw Darrick late as well as have
Yeah. And hopefully the injury report is a bit of cards close to the chest type
yeah
stuff. It will be, there's going to be some unfortunate people who drop out. Haven't really, spoken about selections either.
yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah, because everyone who's come in, I think, has contributed fairly well. You would think that while Joe Miller had a great debut, she probably fell back into the pack quite severely on the weekend.
yeah
And yeah, there's going to be, while Teagle's start to the season was phenomenal, I wouldn't be rushing her back if she's not fit. And then, again, if she is fit, they probably would bring her back. And then, it's just another person who's going to be unlucky to miss. So it'll be interesting watch for team selections come Thursday evening.
absolutely, yeah. Because I think, and I don't think Carrick had a bad game. She just didn't have a big game either. So she's the one that came in this week. So
Yeah,
yeah, so she's
probably an
probably
easy
out.
out.
Carrick, Miller, and then I don't think Teakle's coming back, but they do have her as a set as an assess.
Yeah,
So that would be the funny thing is like, or not funny. It's unfortunate, but
it would be
if they do
heartbreaking.
Teakle back, then you got
It may
Levicki.
be a Levicki.
It
Yeah,
gets into our votes, and it's not because
unfortunately.
it's not anything to do with her game. It's just like she is the type of player that you move in. Like sometimes you just as a slave to the body type that you are, and she's a tall player that she's come in when Teakle went out. So it's
Yeah,
unfortunately, but yeah, I tend to agree with you. I don't think Teakle's coming back in because she has been out for a good 5 weeks now, whereas Schultz and Darrick have been training and
yeah. When
playing.
her goal kicking dropped off in the one or two games before she got injured as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
I
an
just
interesting watch for sure.
I wonder if Teakle comes back at all, unless it's like actually needs based, like if Levicki got injured or something like that, and then Teakle was fit to go or right to go, maybe. But otherwise, I just don't think she comes back. But I think you'd be reticent to bringing a player in. So yeah, that's about it though. That was a slight tangent there at the end when we
That's
were
it. Yeah, well, I mean,
about to wrap up. But those are things.
important. Yeah, we probably should have discussed it anyway before we're wrapping up in terms of selection. So yeah, no, glad
Yeah,
we touched on it a little bit. So
yeah.
thanks for sticking around, everyone.
Yes, yeah, no, thank you, and yeah, get excited as finals footy at Alberton, which is really fun to get around and yeah, just support these girls and for what a fantastic season it's been. It's been a real pleasure doing the podcast and continuing it through and actually having it. We were hoping for this, but I think 6 wins on the bounce is probably not something we just for a team that had only won 3 games for the first 2 seasons. I think six wins on the bounce is something we would have not pegged at any point, even if we had a good look at the fixture.
No.
So yeah, they've made us proud, and long may it continue. And yeah, really, but regardless of what happens this weekend, it's going to be a season to remember in a positive light. So yeah, nothing more to say. Khan, the fucking lady pair, finals bound.
Hey, Sarah. Go the lady pair. Come on.